What if I told you that some of the most profitable plants you could grow at a farmer's market aren't the ones filling every booth right now? Not tomatoes, not zucchini, not basil. I'm talking about plants that sell out in the first 20 minutes. Plants that chefs drive across town to find. Plants that buyers actually stop you before you finish setting up to ask if you have more. Most growers have no idea these markets exist. While everyone else is competing for the same customers with the same produce, there are specialty plants out there generating serious income for the small number of people who figured this out. Plants with passionate, loyal buyers. Plants that sell for $20, $30, even $50 per pound at a table you set up on a Saturday morning. Plants so undersupplied that your biggest problem won't be finding customers, it will be growing enough to meet demand. Today I'm going to show you 20 of them. Plants that sell out at every farmer's market and that almost nobody is growing. Stick around because number 7 on this list is so rare at farmers markets that buyers have been known to prepay weeks in advance just to reserve a supply. And number 19 produces edible flowers that chefs are currently ordering from overseas because they simply cannot find a domestic grower. Let's get into it. Number 1. Lemongrass. The ingredient every Thai and Vietnamese restaurant in your city needs and cannot reliably source locally. Cymbopogon citratus sells fresh for $10 to $20 per bunch and dried for $20 to $40 per pound. Here is the market reality. Thai, Vietnamese, and Pan-Asian restaurants use lemongrass constantly in curries, soups, marinades, cocktail syrups, and infusions. But fresh lemongrass is difficult to find at consistent quality in most American cities unless you are near a major urban center with an established Asian wholesale market. That gap is your business. At farmers markets in mid-sized cities, a grower with consistent fresh lemongrass can build a standing account with multiple restaurants that will buy everything you bring before the market even opens. The plant grows vigorously in warm climates and can be managed in large containers where winters are cold. Once established, a lemongrass planting is a perennial cash producer that requires almost no input. Think of it as the ingredient that every Asian restaurant needs every week, and that you could be the only local source of. Number 2 is the plant that Japanese and Korean restaurants need constantly, and that almost no farmers market vendor in America currently offers fresh. Number 2, shiso, $20 to $50 per pound fresh, and essentially unavailable at local scale in most American cities. Perilla frutescens comes in green and purple varieties and is foundational in Japanese and Korean cooking. Sushi restaurants use it as a wrap, a garnish, and an ingredient in ways that dried shiso simply cannot replace. Korean restaurants need it for ssam, perilla kimchi, and banchan preparations. The flavor is complex, minty, basil-like, with anise undertones that nothing else replicates. Here is what makes this a farmer's market goldmine. The number of Japanese and Korean restaurants in America has been growing steadily for 20 years. But the supply of locally grown fresh shiso has not grown with them. Most of these restaurants are sourcing from Asian grocery wholesalers at inconsistent quality, paying more than they want to, and would immediately switch to a reliable local grower at a premium price. At a well-positioned farmer's market, shiso regularly sells out before noon. Grow both green and purple varieties. Different restaurants have strong preferences, and you have double the buyer pool from a single planting. Number 3 is the herb that chefs who know about it refuse to cook without, and that most people have never seen at a farmer's market in their lives. Number 3, sorrel, $20 to $40 per pound, and one of the most sought-after herbs in the farm-to-table culinary world. Rumex acetosa has a bright, intensely sour, lemon-forward flavor that is genuinely irreplaceable in fine cooking. French cuisine has used it for centuries in soups, sauces, and fish preparations. Modern farm-to-table chefs have rediscovered it as a finishing herb, a sauce base, and a salad component that delivers acidity without citrus. The problem? Almost nobody grows it at farmers market scale in the United States. It is virtually absent from commercial herb production. Chefs who want it have to order it from specialty produce distributors at prices that make locally grown sorrel look like a bargain. Sorrel is a perennial that grows in cool weather, meaning you can produce it in spring and fall when most other fresh herbs are not available, extending your season and your revenue window simultaneously. A single established sorrel bed can be cut multiple times per season for years. Think of it as the chef's secret weapon that you could have a near monopoly on at your local market. Number 4 has been described by chefs as the most underrated herb in existence. Most people who have eaten it loved it without knowing what they were tasting. Number 4. Lovage, $15 to $30 per pound, and a plant that high-end restaurant chefs consider one of the most valuable herbs they struggle to source. Levisticum officinale delivers an intensely complex flavor described as celery meats. Parsley meets something entirely its own, deeper, more aromatic, and more useful as a cooking herb than either of its comparisons. European fine dining has used it for centuries. Modern American farm-to-table chefs are discovering it and developing strong preferences for it. The challenge is supply. Lovage is virtually absent from commercial herb production and barely present at farmers markets. Chefs who discover it become loyal, repeat buyers who will follow a grower from market to market. Lovage is a perennial that grows vigorously with minimal care, sometimes reaching 6 feet in height, producing enormous quantities of harvestable leaves through the growing season. The roots and seeds are also saleable at premium prices to adventurous home cooks and specialty food producers. Think of it as the herb that chefs talk about among themselves and that almost no grower is supplying. Number 5. Tulsi, holy basil, $20 to $45 per pound dried, with a buyer pool that spans functional tea brands, wellness consumers, and traditional South Asian communities simultaneously. Ocimum tenuiflorum has crossed from Ayurvedic tradition into mainstream wellness culture with remarkable speed. Functional tea? Tea positioned around specific health outcomes like stress relief and immune support, is one of the fastest-growing beverage categories in America. Tulsi is one of its headline herbs. At farmers markets, fresh and dried Tulsi attracts buyers from multiple demographics: South Asian families who have always known it, wellness consumers who read about adaptogens, and small-batch tea producers who need consistent local supply. The plant grows easily in warm climates with multiple harvests per season, and dried Tulsi commands premium prices that justify the production effort. Domestic supply is meaningfully behind where demand already sits, which means a grower entering this market right now is not competing. They are filling a gap that buyers are actively searching for someone to fill. Number 6. Calendula, $20 to $50 per pound dried, with one of the most flexible exit strategies of any plant on this list. Calendula officinalis is a workhorse ingredient in natural skincare. Creams, salves, soaps, balms, and baby products all use it extensively. But at farmers markets, it has a broader appeal than most specialty herbs. The flowers are visually stunning, they cut beautifully, and buyers include home crafters, artisan soap makers, natural skincare formulators, and people who simply want them in a vase. That multi-buyer dynamic means your calendula almost never sits unsold. The plant blooms continuously through the growing season, and the harvest model reinforces itself. Pick frequently to encourage more flowers. The difference between ordinary calendula and premium-priced calendula is post-harvest handling. Careful low heat drying that preserves color and active compounds positions you at the top of the price range. Think of it as the plant that is equally valuable to the craft market, the wellness market, and the culinary garnish market. 3 separate buyer pools from one planting. Before we get to number 7, if what we're covering today is making you think seriously about turning this into a real income, there is a resource in the first pinned comment below that takes everything we're talking about further. It is a step-by-step system for building a profitable specialty plant business from the ground up. The kind of practical framework that separates the growers who actually make money from the ones who grow interesting plants and wonder why the income never materializes. I'm not going to tell you what it is. Just click the first pinned comment and see for yourself. Now, number 7. This is the one buyers prepay for. Number 7. Lemon verbena, $25 to $50 per pound, and the herb that farmers market regulars prepay weeks in advance to reserve. Aloesia citrodora has the most intensely bright, clean lemon fragrance of any plant in existence. More concentrated than lemon balm, more complex than lemongrass, with a warmth that neither of those has. Craft cocktail bars use it in syrups and infusions. Specialty tea producers crave it for single-herb teas that command premium prices. High-end restaurant pastry chefs use it in custards, creams, and desserts. And buyers who discover it at a farmer's market tend to become the most loyal, repeat customers in your booth. The problem is availability. Lemon verbena is essentially absent from commercial fresh herb production in the United States. Growers who establish themselves as reliable local sources develop waiting lists. The plant requires some winter protection in cold climates, but is a perennial that produces generously once established. Think of it as the herb that creates the kind of customer relationship where buyers text you before market day to ask how much you're bringing. Number 8 is the plant that upscale Mediterranean restaurants need, and that most farmers market vendors have never thought to grow. Number 8. Purslane, $15 to $30 per pound at specialty markets, with demand growing in exactly the demographic that shops at farmers markets most actively. Portulaca oleracea is the weed most American gardeners pull without a second thought, and the vegetable that French markets have sold as a premium salad green for centuries. The omega-3 content, the distinctive slightly lemony texture, and the positioning as an ancient Mediterranean superfood make it a strong seller with health-conscious consumers and farm-to-table restaurant buyers simultaneously. Whole Foods and upscale grocery stores sell it where they can find consistent supply. At farmers markets, a grower with clean, well-presented purslane consistently sells out to buyers who cannot find it anywhere else locally. Production cost is essentially zero. Purslane grows aggressively with no inputs, and the only investment is harvesting and presentation. Think of it as the weed that became a premium product simply by being offered to the right buyers at the right venue. Number 9 has enormous demand from one of America's most popular restaurant cuisines, and almost zero local supply anywhere in the country. Number 9. Epazote, $12 to $25 per pound fresh, with essentially no domestic commercial production despite consistent demand from every authentic Mexican kitchen in America. Dysphania ambrosioides is non-negotiable in authentic Mexican cooking. Beans cooked without epazote are beans cooked wrong, according to every Mexican grandmother who has ever made them. The fresh herb is used in quesadillas, soups, salsas, and traditional preparations that depend on its distinctive flavor, which dried epazote barely approximates. Mexican cuisine is one of the most popular in America, and authentic Mexican restaurants want fresh epazote consistently. Most of them cannot find it locally and are improvising without it, or paying significant premiums to specialty distributors. At farmers markets in cities with meaningful Mexican and Latin American populations, fresh epazote sells immediately to restaurant buyers and home cooks who recognize it on site. The plant grows easily, almost aggressively, in warm conditions. Think of it as serving a cuisine that feeds tens of millions of Americans weekly, with an ingredient that almost nobody is growing. Number 10 is used in craft spirits production and high-end charcuterie, and the people who need it are currently struggling to find a domestic source. Number 10. Hyssop, $20 to $35 per pound, with a niche buyer pool that includes craft gin distilleries, vermouth producers, and artisan food makers willing to pay premium prices for consistent local supply. Hyssopus officinalis has been used in European culinary and herbal traditions for thousands of years. It appears in the Bible, in Renaissance cookbooks, and in the botanical recipes of every traditional European liqueur. Modern craft gin distillers use it as a botanical. Vermouth producers need it for traditional recipes. Artisan charcuterie makers use it in cured meats and herb crusts. And herbalists and tea producers use it for respiratory support preparations. The buyers are specialized, but they are passionate and they pay well. A grower who establishes themselves as a reliable hyssop source for a few craft producers in their region builds the kind of accounts that purchase by the pound, week after week, without price negotiation. Hyssop is a hardy perennial that grows easily in poor soil with minimal care. Think of it as the herb that the craft food and beverage movement rediscovered before most farmers noticed. Number 11 produces flowers so visually stunning and culinarily versatile that every chef who sees them for the first time asks who is growing them. Number 11. Borage, $20 to $40 per pound for flowers, with demand from the edible flower market growing faster than supply in most American cities. Borage officinalis produces intensely vivid star-shaped blue flowers, a color almost unique in the edible plant world, with a clean cucumber flavor that works in salads, cocktail garnishes, frozen into ice cubes, and as a decorative element in upscale food presentations. The edible flower market is expanding rapidly as restaurant aesthetics increasingly treat the plate as a visual composition. Borage flowers photograph beautifully, which is relevant in an era when restaurant social media drives significant business. The plant grows vigorously as an annual, self-seeds readily, and produces flowers continuously through the season. Buyers include restaurants, wedding caterers, cocktail bars, and specialty grocery stores. Think of it as selling a product where the customer's first reaction is almost always the same. Where have you been? And how much can I get? Number 12 is the French culinary world's most beloved herb, and one that most American farmers market vendors have never thought to grow. Number 12. Chervil, $20 to $35 per pound, virtually absent from American farmers markets, and deeply beloved by every chef with classical French training. Anthriscus cerefolium is one of the 4 classic fines herbs of French cuisine, alongside parsley, tarragon, and chives. Delicate, feathery, with a subtle anise note that disappears quickly with heat, which is why it needs to be fresh, and why dried chervil is practically useless. French-trained chefs in America spend years frustrated by the inability to find fresh chervil reliably. It is almost completely absent from commercial fresh herb production in this country. A farmer's market grower who offers consistently fresh chervil will find that chefs become almost immediately loyal and will pay without negotiation. Chervil prefers cool weather, spring and fall production, which means it extends your growing season into periods when most other herbs are not available. Think of it as the herb that French chefs have been quietly desperate for in America for decades. Number 13 serves one of the fastest-growing restaurant segments in America and has essentially no local supply chain to speak of. Number 13. Vietnamese coriander, also called rau ram, $15 to $30 per pound, essential in Vietnamese cooking, and virtually impossible to find fresh outside major metropolitan areas. Persicaria odorata is non-negotiable in authentic Vietnamese cuisine, in PHO, in fresh spring rolls, in salads, and dipping sauces. It has a distinctive flavor that Vietnamese chefs describe as combining cilantro, mint, and something uniquely its own. Nothing substitutes for it. Vietnamese restaurants are among the fastest-growing food businesses in America, and their chefs consistently struggle to find fresh Vietnamese coriander from local sources. Most of it is sourced through Vietnamese grocery wholesalers at inconsistent quality and availability. A farmer's market grower with consistent, clean Vietnamese coriander builds restaurant accounts that will buy everything they bring. The plant grows aggressively in warm, moist conditions and can be kept indoors through winter. Think of it as the essential ingredient for one of America's fastest-growing cuisine categories, with almost nobody supplying it locally. Number 14 is the ingredient that Korean BBQ restaurants and Korean home cooks are consistently unable to find from local growers. Number 14. Perilla, $20 to $45 per pound. The Korean culinary staple that farmers market buyers from Korean communities will purchase in large quantities every single week without fail. Perilla frutescens, KK-inip in Korean, is one of the most consumed herbs in Korean cuisine. Used as a wrap for grilled meats, pickled as banchan, used in kimchi variations, and eaten fresh at every Korean BBQ table. The demand from Korean restaurants and Korean-American home cooks is consistent, substantial, and year-round. But local supply is almost completely absent outside of a few urban centers with established Korean farming communities. A grower who shows up consistently at a farmer's market in a community with Korean population will immediately develop loyal accounts. Perilla is distinct from shiso, despite botanical similarities. Korean cooks have strong preferences for specific flavor profiles and will not substitute one for the other. Grow both and serve both markets simultaneously. Think of it as the herb with built-in brand loyalty before you grow a single leaf. Number 15 creates the kind of buyer behavior that most vendors never experience. Customers who bring friends specifically to introduce them to what you're selling. Number 15, nasturtium, flowers and leaves, $20 to $40 per pound. With demand from fine dining restaurants, craft cocktail bars, and specialty food producers who use it for flavor, color, and visual impact simultaneously. Tropaiolum majus produces vivid edible flowers in orange, yellow, and red with a peppery, slightly spicy flavor that works as a garnish, a salad ingredient, and a cocktail decoration. The leaves have an equally distinctive peppery bite that chefs use as a microgreen substitute with more character. The visual impact is immediate. Nasturtiums photograph beautifully, which matters enormously for restaurant social media. At farmers markets, a well-presented nasturtium display stops people who have never bought specialty herbs before. The plant is one of the easiest and most productive annuals you can grow. Abundant, continuous flowers from a single planting through the entire season. Capers can be made from the green seed buds, creating a value-added product from the same planting. Think of it as the plant that sells itself through appearance before the buyer even asks the price. Number 16 is for anyone near a city with a meaningful craft cocktail bar scene. The buyers are there, the supply is not. Number 16, bronze fennel, $15 to $30 per pound, and the most visually distinctive herb available at any farmer's market. Funiculum vulgar purpureum produces feathery copper-bronze foliage with the anise flavor of common fennel, but an appearance that no other plant replicates. Craft cocktail bars use it as a garnish that photographs memorably. Fine dining restaurants use it in ways that standard green fennel fronds cannot match. Florists use it in edible arrangements and high-end floral compositions. Wedding caterers use it in food styling. The visual uniqueness creates immediate buyer interest at a market table. People pick it up, smell it, and ask questions before they are even thinking about buying. Bronze fennel is a perennial that grows with minimal care. The combination of culinary utility and visual impact gives it a buyer pool that spans food service, floral, and specialty food production. Think of it as the plant that no competitor at your market is likely to bring because almost nobody knows it exists. Number 17 has one of the most unusual sensory effects of any plant in culinary use, and the chefs who have discovered it consider it one of the most valuable tools in their kitchen. Number 17. Szechuan buttons, also called buzz buttons, $30 to $60 per pound, and one of the most talked about specialty ingredients in avant-garde culinary circles. Acmella oleracea produces small yellow and red flower heads that create an intense tingling, numbing, salivation-inducing effect when eaten, a sensation that forward-thinking chefs use to create dramatic tasting menu experiences. The effect is completely harmless but startling, which makes it memorable for diners and an irresistible storytelling element for chefs who use experiential dining as a differentiator. Mixologists use them in cocktails to create tingling mouthfeel effects. Food media coverage of Szechuan buttons has been consistent for years, creating a steadily expanding pool of curious buyers. The plant produces flowers continuously through the growing season in warm conditions and is simple to grow. Most buyers have seen it written about and never found a local source. A farmer's market grower with consistent Szechuan buttons will find that chefs, bartenders, and adventurous home cooks become immediate regulars. Think of it as selling an experience as much as an ingredient, and charging accordingly. Number 18 is for the premium pet market, which is one of the most consistently profitable specialty crop markets in existence, and one that most plant growers have never thought to enter. Number 18. Premium organic catnip, $30 to $60 per pound, with a pet market that applies the same quality standards to pet products as its buyers apply to their own health. The pet industry is worth over $100 billion annually in the United States, and the premium organic segment is growing faster than the broader market. Pet owners who buy organic food for themselves apply the same standard to their animals. Commercial bulk catnip, the kind in most mass-market cat toys, is largely stripped of potency, poorly dried, and often mixed with filler material. It barely works. Fresh, properly dried, high-potency catnip is a fundamentally different product, and premium pet boutiques, natural pet retailers, and subscription box companies know the difference and cannot find consistent supply. A grower who delivers clean, potent, well-presented catnip to this buyer pool builds accounts that reorder without price resistance. Catnip is a vigorous perennial. Plant once, harvest for years. Think of it as serving a buyer who is as committed to quality as any restaurant chef, with a product that costs almost nothing to grow. Number 19 produces one of the most photographed specialty ingredients in modern farm-to-table cooking, and chefs are currently ordering it from overseas because no domestic grower is supplying it. Number 19. Salicornia, also called sea beans or sea asparagus, $25 to $50 per pound, ordered by fine dining chefs from overseas because domestic production is essentially non-existent. Salicornia europaea produces bright green succulent shoots with a natural saltiness from its coastal habitat, a flavor and texture that chefs describe as the ocean in plant form. It photographs with an intense visual clarity that makes it one of the most frequently featured garnishes in high-end food media. It requires no salt in preparation. It provides textural contrast and visual impact simultaneously. Fine dining restaurants in coastal cities pay significant premiums to specialty produce distributors who import it because no local growers exist. A farmer's market grower who establishes consistent Salicornia supply will find that restaurant buyers become immediate loyal accounts. Not because you are good, but because you are the only option. Salicornia can be grown in saline soil conditions that most crops cannot tolerate, meaning it can occupy land that has no other agricultural use. Think of it as occupying a market with zero competition because the barrier to entry is simply knowing the plant exists. And now, number 20. The plant I saved for last because it represents the single most consistent observation from specialty crop farmers across the country. The simpler the plant, the more reliably it sells out. Number 20. Lemon balm. $20 to $40 per pound, dried fresh bunches at $8 to $15 each, and the most reliably consistent sellers at farmers markets among every herb on this list. Melissa officinalis is the plant that buyers recognize, trust, and return for. The stress and sleep supplement market has made lemon balm one of the most recognizable herbs in wellness culture. Buyers know what it is, know why they want it, and are actively looking for local, fresh sources. At farmers markets, fresh lemon balm sells continuously to buyers who use it for tea, tinctures, culinary garnishes, and fresh herb bundles. Dried lemon balm sells to the same buyers at premium prices through winter. Supplement companies and craft tea producers who discover a consistent local lemon balm grower tend to become account buyers rather than spot buyers, purchasing regularly and in volume. The plant is a vigorous perennial that spreads enthusiastically once established, requires essentially no inputs, and can be harvested multiple times per season for years from a single planting. The wellness industry's demand for natural stress support is structural, not trend-dependent. Think of it as the plant that is already popular, already trusted, and already selling at markets across the country, in quantities far below what buyers actually want. If you made it this far, you now understand something that most growers figure out only after years of trial and error. The most profitable path in specialty crops is not finding the most exotic plant. It is finding the intersection of genuine buyer demand, limited local supply, and a product you can grow reliably and present well. Every plant on this list has that intersection available right now in most American markets. The growers who move first capture the pricing and the loyalty. The ones who wait enter a more crowded market at lower margins. There is a complete step-by-step system in the first pinned comment below for anyone who wants to turn this knowledge into an actual income-generating operation. Not just a list of interesting plants, but a real business framework. And for anyone who watched all the way to the end of this video, use the code FULLVIDEO at checkout for 20% off. The link is in the pinned comment. No countdown, no pressure. It is there whenever you are ready. 20 plants. All of them sellable at premium prices at farmers markets across the country right now. All of them undersupplied. All of them serving buyers who are actively looking for exactly what you could grow. The commodity market rewards scale. The specialty market rewards knowledge. You now have the knowledge. The rest is up to you. Tell me in the comments, which plant are you growing first? Which one surprised you most? And if you are already selling at a farmer's market, drop what sells out fastest for you. I read every comment, and the conversation down there is always better than the video. Subscribe and ring the bell. I will see you in the next one.